"Leave your condo keys," Mom demanded at brunch. Dad backed her up. I dropped the keys and left. Next morning, the HOA called about a $300K fee. I smiled and ignored it. I'm Lauren Miller, 31, a real estate expert in Chicago, and this is how my family tried to take my home and how I fought to keep it. I close million-dollar deals, turning empty spaces into dreams for clients. My office in the Loop is a small nook. Contracts stacked on my desk, a coffee mug with a chipped Skyline logo, and a view of the L train rattling by. My pride is my downtown condo, worth $700,000, bought with years of late nights, savvy investments, and no handouts. Growing up in our Evanston home, a cozy brick house with a sagging porch, I was never the favorite. That was my brother, Ethan, 34, charismatic and always bailed out by Mom and Dad, Janet and David. I thought my condo would make them proud. Instead, they demanded I give it to him, and it broke my heart, but it also showed me what I'm made of. Ethan was their golden child. Mom, 58, a retired teacher, paid his rent, gushed over his charm. Dad, 60, a former insurance agent who loved his Cubs games, called him our future. They funded his restaurant, his startup, both flops. Me? I got, "Lauren, you'll figure it out." I paid for college at Northwestern with waitressing gigs, built my career without their help. My condo in River North is my sanctuary. Hardwood floors, a velvet couch, a balcony with a view of the city's pulse. I'd helped them plenty. $15,000 for their mortgage, $8,000 for Ethan's legal fees, never repaid. Family, right? You give, even when it's one-sided. It started at a family brunch at a bustling River North restaurant. Clinking glasses and the smell of coffee filling the air, linen napkins crisp on the tables. I arrived with a box of pastries from a local bakery, $100 worth, hoping for a warm morning. Ethan lounged in a booth, smirking, his designer sneakers scuffed. Mom fussed over him, adjusting his scarf. Dad sipped his mimosa, barely glancing at me. Halfway through, Mom leaned forward, her voice sharp. "Lauren," she said, "leave your condo keys. Ethan needs a place." My fork froze, eggs untouched. Leave my keys? My home? "He needs stability," Dad added, his eyes cold. "You're fine, you'll get another." The room spun, the restaurant's chatter fading. Ethan nodded, smug. "It's the right thing, Lauren. I've got plans." Plans? His last plan cost $50,000. Gone. I gripped my coffee, my heart pounding. "No," I said, my voice clearer than I felt. "My condo's mine. I earned it." Whispers broke out around the table. Ethan smirked, sipping his juice. "Come on, sis. You don't need that big place." Mom's eyes narrowed. "Don't be selfish, Lauren. Ethan's our future." Selfish? My chest burned, rage mixing with hurt. They weren't asking. They were demanding, in front of everyone. Aunt Nancy gasped, her mimosa trembling. Cousin Mark stared at his plate. I felt their eyes, judging me. I stood, my hands steady but my insides shaking. "I owe you nothing," I said, low. I pulled my condo keys from my purse, dropped them on the table, clink, and walked out, heels clicking on the hardwood floor, their murmurs trailing. Chicago's wind hit me, sharp and cold. My condo wasn't just a home, it was me, my victory. They wanted to take it for Ethan, their future. I'd given them so much, $10,000 for Mom's medical bills, $300 monthly for groceries. And now, they'd crossed a line. I drove home, city lights blurring through my windshield. I called Sarah Brooks, my best friend since we bonded over college dorm coffee. She answered, her voice warm. "Lauren, what's going on?" I spilled it. The brunch, Mom's demand, Ethan's smirk. My voice cracked. Angry 1 second, lost the next. "They don't own you," Sarah said, fierce. "Protect your assets. They'll try more." I didn't sleep that night, Chicago's hum, sirens, bar noise, keeping me restless. My condo felt alive, its brick walls holding me. The pain cut deep. That brunch wasn't just a meal, it was a betrayal. They'd demanded my home in public. I checked my bank app, $300,000 in savings. Safe. Their accounts? I'd never touched. Sarah's words stuck. They'll try more. They thought I'd keep giving. I Googled real estate lawyers, found one with top reviews, booked a meeting. That condo was my heart, and they'd demanded my keys. I'd make them regret it. The next morning, my phone buzzed. Ethan's Instagram post, a selfie on my condo's balcony, captioned, "New home, new hustle, some don't share." Comments poured in. "Go, Ethan! Janet, he's a star." Star? He'd tanked every venture. My condo, my sweat and triumph, wasn't his. Aunt Nancy's like stung. She'd stayed at my place last summer, loved the view. Now? Silence. I blocked the post, my hands trembling. Chicago's skyline loomed outside my balcony, gray and heavy. They'd claimed my home, made me the fool. Mom called while I was in my office, closing a deal, spreadsheets glowing. I let it ring twice. "Lauren," she said, her voice sharp, "we need $10,000. Condo upgrades for Ethan." Upgrades? To my home? "I owe nothing," I snapped, shoving a stack of contracts aside. "I paid your mortgage $18,000. I'm done." She scoffed. "You're selfish. Ethan needs this." Needs? I'd covered his startup debt, $12,000, sent groceries monthly. "No," I said firm. "Ethan's got my condo. Let him pay." She gasped. "You're cruel." The call ended. Cruel? I'd been their bank, not their daughter. Rumors spread fast. Aunt Nancy texted, "Why abandon Ethan?" Cousin Jake called me stingy. Mom had spun it. I was the cold sister, hoarding my wealth while Ethan struggled. Struggled? He lived off their cash. A client, Emma Hayes, gave me a look at a closing. Heard family drama. "You okay?" My throat tightened. Their lies were hitting my work, my name. I called Sarah, pacing my office, the L train rumbling outside. "They're trying to ruin me," I said, my voice catching. She was fierce. "They're sharks, Lauren. Get a lawyer. Lock down your money." I nodded, staring at my savings on my laptop. $300,000. Safe. "What if they push harder?" I asked. Sarah's voice was steel. "They will. Fight smart." I found Michael Grant online, a real estate lawyer with stellar reviews. We met at a cafe in the Loop, the clatter of dishes steadying me. I laid it out. The brunch, Mom's demand, my keys. Michael's eyes narrowed, his coffee untouched. "Your condo's in your name? No family ties?" I nodded. "All mine $700,000. My savings, $300,000 too." He grinned. "They've got no claim, but we'll check. They're desperate." He got to work. I called Mr. Collins, my HOA rep. "Any odd moves on my condo account?" I asked. He paused. "Your mom tried adding Ethan as co-owner yesterday." My condo? My heart raced. "Block her," I said. He did. They weren't just after my keys, they were after everything. Then it got worse. My phone rang. HOA number. I answered, wary. "Ms. Miller," Mr. Collins said. "A $300,000 fee's due. Building upgrades. You're listed as owner." I blinked. "What fee?" He cited a vote I'd never heard of. "Your family expects you to pay," he added. I laughed, cold. "Not my problem." I hung up, my pulse hammering. $300,000. Ethan and Dad showed up at my office that night, no warning. Ethan in a flashy jacket, Dad in a worn sweater, his face grim. "Lauren," Ethan said, holding papers, "pay the HOA fee. Sign over the condo." I stared, stunned, standing by my desk. "You're joking." Dad stepped up. "It's family duty. You owe us." Duty? I'd paid their taxes, $10,000. "Get out," I said, my voice ice cold. They left, Ethan muttering, Dad silent. Mom emailed that night. Subject, family responsibility. She claimed I'd profited from family support, owed the condo and $300,000, threatened to sue for fraud. Fraud? I'd saved them from bankruptcy. I sent it to Michael. "They're bluffing," he said, "but we'll counter." My condo felt like a target, its city views dim. They demanded my keys at brunch. Now they wanted me to pay their mess. For Ethan, their future. Michael called a week later, his voice sharp. "Lauren, we hit something big." My pulse spiked. "What?" He explained. Ethan had used my condo's title to borrow $200,000 for a tech startup that crashed. Mom co-signed, emailing the lender. "Lauren's backing it." They'd lied, banking on my credit. Michael had proof. Loan documents, emails, bank records, a text from Ethan to a friend. "Lauren's condo's my ticket." I felt sick, my hands clenching. They hadn't just claimed my home, they'd chained me to their debt. I needed more. I called Uncle Paul, Dad's brother, the one relative who hadn't turned on me. We met at a bar by the Chicago River, lights reflecting on the water. "Lauren," he said, stirring his drink, "Ethan's startup's a disaster. They're broke, counting on your money to save them." My jaw tightened. Save them? With my life? "Your mom's blind to Ethan's failures," Paul sighed. "They think you'll fold." I thanked him, my mind racing. Ethan wasn't just spoiled. He was reckless, and they'd let him risk everything. I sat in my office, Chicago's skyline dark, contracts scattered. Sarah stopped by, bringing wine. "They're toast," she said, fierce. "You've got evidence. Hit them hard." I nodded, a mix of nerves and fire. "I will, but it's got to sting." Michael was prepping a lawsuit. I moved my $300,000 to a trust, untouchable. I planned a reconciliation dinner at a swanky restaurant in River North. Crystal chandeliers, velvet chairs, jazz humming softly. I invited Mom, Dad, Ethan, Aunt Nancy, Uncle Paul, and cousins who'd bought their lies. The invite was warm. "Let's reconnect." They fell for it. Ethan texted, "Smart choice, sis." Mom called, "This means so much." I smirked, silent. They thought I was caving. This was no truce. It was a takedown. The dinner was set for 7 p.m. Ethan swaggered in, his Rolex catching the chandelier light, all smug. Mom wore silk, fussing over him, her perfume sharp. Dad looked drained, his eyes sunken. Uncle Paul gave a wary nod. Aunt Nancy smiled, oblivious, her pearls gleaming. Dinner was flawless. Steak, aged Pinot Noir, chatter filling the air. Ethan bragged about condo plans. Mom praised his vision. I stayed quiet, picking at my plate, waiting. Dessert came. Chocolate souffle, dusted with gold. I stood, raising my glass. "Thanks for being here," I said, my voice steady despite the knot in my chest. "After brunch, I learned something. Greed burns brighter than loyalty." I hit a button and a projector lit the wall. Ethan's smirk vanished. The first slide showed Ethan's $200,000 loan, my condo's title as collateral, Mom's co-signature, a default notice due now. Next, emails. Mom to Ethan, "Lauren won't check." A bank letter demanding payment. Ethan's Instagram post flaunting my balcony. Mom's email demanding my condo and $300,000 HOA fee. "This isn't family," I said, my voice sharp. "It's fraud. You demanded my home. Use my name for your debt." The room went silent. Aunt Nancy's fork clinked. Uncle Paul's jaw tightened. I kept going. My savings, $300,000, my condo, $700,000, locked in a trust. "You'll never touch it," I said. Ethan jumped up, face red. "This is fake," he shouted. Dad mumbled, "Lauren, stop," but sank back. Mom's silk trembled. "You're destroying us." "Destroying them?" I pressed on. "One more," I said. "An HOA invoice, $300,000 for unapproved upgrades." Ethan pushed, tied to my condo. "You racked up the bill," I said, staring at Ethan. "Now pay." Michael stepped forward, papers in hand. "Lauren owes nothing," he said, his voice firm. "We're suing Ethan for fraud, seeking damages." Uncle Paul spoke up. "Ethan, you're a disgrace." Aunt Nancy gasped. "Janet, how could you?" Ethan stormed out, cursing. Dad stared at the table, broken. Mom sobbed, head in hands. "Lauren, why?" she whispered. I looked at her, calm but raw inside. "You chose him. Live with it." The cousins sat, stunned. A few nodded, their eyes soft. I'd flipped their story. The dinner ended, souffle untouched. I walked into Chicago's chilly night, the wind sharp but freeing. I wasn't carrying their weight anymore. Days later, the HOA moved in. Liens hit the condo. Ethan's startup assets were seized. Dad called, his voice cracked. "Lauren, help us." I said, "Ask Ethan." 6 months later, my life's soaring. I started my own real estate firm in River North, landing global projects, Dubai, London. I've spoken at industry conferences, called a visionary. Ethan's reputation tanked, creditors sued, and he vanished, dodging debt. Mom and Dad sold their lake house, scraping by in a small apartment. They mailed apologies. "We were wrong," Mom wrote. I didn't reply. They chose Ethan at that brunch. I chose myself at that dinner. I bought a new apartment in the West Loop, all glass and city views, with a cozy nook for my books. On the wall, I hung a photo of my condo's balcony, my victory, not nostalgia. I posted it online. "Family respects your worth, doesn't steal it." Messages flooded in, clients, friends, people who'd been hurt like me. "You gave me strength," one wrote. Sarah threw a rooftop party with cheap wine and loud music. We danced, toasted to chosen family. Chicago sparkled below, mine to claim. I don't hate them. They thought I'd crumble. I didn't. That condo was my heart, and they demanded it. That debt was their trap, and they kept it. When Michael said, "Lauren owes nothing," their world collapsed. Mine grew. I'm Lauren Miller, free, building a life they'll never touch.